Alrighty, guys, I'm now 6-0, my last 6 board member tier package bets on my website. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every one of my personal bets here today, the only way you can do that is to watch my board member podcast. And the only way to access that board member podcast is to join my full access, all-inclusive board member package on my website. But before we get into some more of that, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to my NBA free pick video here today for Friday, March 3rd, 2023. Happy Friday to you. The weekend's finally here. Of course, my name is Brock Page. I've been giving out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, we are 6-0 in our last 6 board member tier package bets on that site. And if you want to see a full video breakdown of every one of my personal bets here today, you can do that right now by becoming a board member on my website. Folks who are signed up to my all-inclusive board member package, they're going to get access to my board member podcast. You're also going to get access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day till April 1st as well. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. What I do on patreon.com/BrockPage is actually share with you which one of these free plays on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally. I currently have over 505 members who are signed up and active on my site right now. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with the Magic at the Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Orlando's minus 3.5, totals 227 and a hook. And as bad as Orlando's been on the road this year, this is going to be a tough game to fudge up because Charlotte's terrible at shooting the basketball. The Hornets are currently the worst shooting team in the Eastern Conference. They're actually dead last in the East in field goal percentage and shooting the 3-ball. When it comes to defensive play, the Hornets are grabbing fewer defensive rebounds a game than any other team in the East as well. They're facing an Orlando squad who's one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the Eastern Conference themselves. They also have a lower defensive three-point percentage on the road than any other team in the NBA except for one. Paolo Banchero, he has a bunch of steals on the season, along with 5.5 defensive boards a game. Now, Paolo is also scoring just about 20 points a game. He's currently leading the Magic in that category. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner, he's averaging over 18.5 points per contest himself. Now, injury-wise, the Magic's relatively healthy at the moment, except for Johnny Isaac. No real surprise there. He's banged up all the time. He's been injured for like 3 straight seasons. Meanwhile, for Charlotte, Cody Martin's out. PJ Washington's doubtful. When it comes to the total, Charlotte's gone 21-9 to the under in the Spectrum Center. Meanwhile, Orlando's gone 80% to the under in their last 10. Give me the Magic minus 3.5, under 227 and a hook. Next game, Nets, Celtics, 7:30 p.m. East. Boston's minus 11, totals 227. And even though this is a huge number, the Celtics have been absolutely dominant over Brooklyn in recent meetings. Out of their last 10 contests with Brooklyn, the Celtics covered in 90% of those games. And for the record, Boston got the outright W in all 10 of those meetings. Now, offensively, it looks like Jaylen Brown's going to make his return here tonight. He's second on the team in scoring with 26 points a game. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum's averaging a team-best 30 points per contest himself. They're facing a Brooklyn team who lost their last 4 straight, and they won only 2 games since their last win on February 4th. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, there's only one other team in the league who grabs fewer offensive boards a game than Brooklyn. Now, injury-wise, Bum Simmons, Eddie Sumner, and Yuta Watanabe are all out for Brooklyn. I'm going to look for Bum Simmons to play another game for the rest of the year. Meanwhile, when it comes to the total, Brooklyn saw unders against the likes of Milwaukee, Chicago, and Philadelphia. They've also been held to just 103 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Boston. So once again, if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Give me Boston minus 11, under 227. Next game, Blazers, Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Atlanta's -7, totals 241.5. Now, I do think this number's a bit steep for the Hawks. They failed to cover in 6 out of their last 9. And they do have a losing record against the point spread at home. Now, the Hawks' biggest issue this season has been their defensive play. They're allowing more points a game than most clubs in the East. They're also in the bottom 5 in the NBA in defensive boards. They're facing a Blazer team who's in the top 5 in defensive boards themselves. When it comes to offensive production, Portland's one of the better three-point shooting teams in the Western Conference. Jeremy Grant's knocking down nearly 41% of his shots from beyond the arc. He also scores over 20.5 points a game. Meanwhile, Dame Lillard scoring a team-best 32 points per contest himself. He's actually third in the NBA in that category. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Nurkic, Winslow, Arcidiacono, and Baji are all out. Simons is questionable. Meanwhile, for Atlanta on the other side, Trae Young is questionable with a groin. Now, total-wise, Atlanta saw their last 3 straight get over the number. Overs against the likes of Washington, Brooklyn, and Cleveland. Meanwhile, Portland went 60% to the over in their last 10. Give me the Blazers +7, keeping that one close, over 241.5. Next matchup, Knicks, Heat, 8 o'clock East. New York's -2.5 on the road, totals 215 and a hook. And as good as Miami's been on defense this year, the Knicks have arguably been better. These guys have the lowest defensive field goal percentage on the road in the entire NBA. No real surprise here, guys. They're allowing fewer points a game on the road than most clubs in the East. Julius Randle's averaging nearly 9 defensive boards a game. He's also the club leader in points. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson scoring over 23.5 points a night himself, and he shoots 41% from three-land. Now, they're facing a struggling Miami squad who lost 5 out of their last 6, and they've been one of the worst covering teams in the East recently. Out of Miami's last 10 outings, they covered the number just 2 times. When it comes to offensive production, the Heat's the worst shooting team from the field in the NBA right now. Certainly a bad matchup here, as New York, once again, is the #1 defensive field goal percentage team on the road. Pretty bad matchup there. Now, injury-wise, the Knicks are relatively healthy at the moment. No significant scratches to report to you, at least as of right now. Meanwhile, for Miami on the other side, Kyle Lowry's still out. Jimmy Butler's questionable. When it comes to the total, Miami saw their last 3 straight stay under the number. They also averaged just 108 points a game in their last 10 contests against New York. Now, the Knicks saw 3 out of their last 4 on the road stay under the total themselves. Give me New York -2.5, under 215 and a hook. Next matchup, it is going to be Suns at the Bulls, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Phoenix is -5 on the road, totals 222. Now, the Suns got the W in 7 out of their last 10, and they covered in 70% of those matchups. They're also one of the better defensive clubs in the league. Phoenix is currently in the top 5 in fewest points allowed per contest. DeAndre Ayton's averaging 7.5 defensive boards a game. He's also making 59% of his field goal attempts on offense. And speaking of offensive production, Devin Booker's averaging a team-best 26 points a game himself. And of course, with the addition of Kevin Durant, their offensive potential has definitely skyrocketed, definitely improved. Now, they're facing a Chicago team who lost 7 out of their last 10 themselves, and they covered in just 20% of those contests. Now, the Bulls have also had their hands full with Western Conference opponents. Out of 19 contests against the West, Chicago got the outright W only 6 times. Now, injury-wise, Javonte Green is still inactive for the Bulls. When it comes to the total, Chicago's gone 20-11 to the under in the United Center. Meanwhile, Phoenix saw 6 out of their last 7 on the road stay under the total themselves. Give me Phoenix -5, under 222. Next contest, it is going to be the Jazz at the Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Utah is the 1.5-point favorite on the road, totals 234. Now, Utah's really done a number on OKC in recent meetings. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they've held Oklahoma City to just 102 points a game during that stretch. As far as this season's concerned, not many teams are scoring more points than Utah. These guys are in the top 5 in the NBA in road points per contest. Lauri Markkanen scoring a team best 25 points a game. He's also drilling 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Kelly Olynyk's drilling 40% of his shots from beyond the arc. Now they're facing a struggling OKC squad on the other side of things, who lost their last 5 straight, and they are going to have to go to work without their leading scorer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I'll tell you what, even when these guys are mostly healthy, this is the worst defensive rebounding team in the NBA. They're grabbing fewer defensive boards than any other team in the association right now. Now, total-wise, OKC's 20-12 to the over in the Paycom Center. Meanwhile, Utah's gone 63% to the over this year in their road trips. Give me Utah -1.5 over 234. Next game, it is going to be Clippers at the Kings, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Sacramento's -6, totals 240. Now, I'll tell you what, all the star power in this one's banged up for both sides here. For Sacramento, leading scorer De'Aaron Fox is day-to-day with a wrist. Rashawn Holmes is also questionable. Meanwhile, for the Clippers on the other side, Kawhi's out. George Morris and Zubac are questionable. But even when LA's mostly healthy, well, the Clippers have been playing some pretty bad basketball lately. They lost 6 out of their last 8. And they covered the point spread only 2 times during that span. When it comes to offensive production, the Clippers are scoring fewer second-quarter points than any other team in the league. They're facing a Sacramento team who's on a 4-game heater themselves. They also got the W in 7 out of their last 9. And even though they may go to work here without De'Aaron Fox here today, the Kings still have a slew of guys who can definitely get to the basket. They do have some scorers. Big Domantas Sabonis, he makes over 61% of his field goals, and he currently ranks second on the team in scoring. Now, Boney also leads the NBA in rebounds per contest. He's grabbing nearly 13 boards a game. Keegan Murray, he's also drilling nearly 42% of his shots from downtown. When it comes to the totals, Sacramento saw overs in 20 out of 30 contests at the Golden One Center. Meanwhile, the Clippers are 22-13 to the under. The Clippers are 22-13 to the over in their travels. Give me Sacramento -6 over 240. Next game, it is going to be Grizzlies at the Nuggets, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Denver's -5, totals 234. Now, the Nuggets are the best shooting team in the NBA. They currently have the highest offensive field goal percentage in the league, and they're connecting on more three-pointers than any other squad in the NBA. As a matter of fact, Denver's connecting on nearly 42% of their three-pointers inside the ball arena. KCP is drilling over 45% of his long balls. He's also averaging just about a dozen points a game. Meanwhile, big Nikola Jokic, he leads the charge with 24 points per contest, along with 11 boards, 10 assists. And aside from averaging a triple-double, the Joker's also drilling just about 40% of his shots from beyond the arc. Really not much this guy can't do on the offensive end of the court. Now, they're facing a Memphis squad who plays their worst basketball on the road. The Grizzlies are 12-18 while traveling this year, and they covered in only 33% of those road games. When it comes to shooting the basketball, well, Memphis has got one of the lowest three-point percentages in the Western Conference. They're actually dead last in the NBA right now in shooting from the foul line, really having a tough time from the stripe. Now, injury-wise, Steven Adams is still out. John Morant's questionable. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Memphis saw overs recently against the likes of the Celtics, T-Wolves, and Cavaliers. Meanwhile, the Nuggets went 60% to the over in their last 10. Give me Denver -5 over 234. Next game, it is going to be Pelicans at the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Golden State's -4.5 at home, totals 232 and a hook. And even though they are banged up a little bit here, the Warriors are still on a 4-game winning streak. They covered the point spread in all 4 of those victories. And when Golden State plays at the Chase Center, good things definitely happen. These guys are 26-7 in their own arena. They're currently leading the NBA in defending the three-pointer at home. Warriors are actually limiting their competition to just 32% shooting from three land in their own building. Now, Klay Thompson, he has a good amount of steals on the defensive end of the court this season. He also leads the active roster right now in points. Klay scoring 22 points a game, and he's also knocking down just about 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, teammate Jordan Poole, he's scoring 21 points a game himself. Now, the Warriors are taking on a Pelicans team on the other side who took the loss in 4 out of their last 5, and they certainly have a tough time shooting from long range. Matter of fact, New Orleans has one of the lowest offensive three-point percentages on the road in the West. And I'll tell you what, out of 32 contests on the road this year, the Pels have gotten the W just 11 times. Now, when it comes to the injury list, Nance, Williamson, Alvarado, and Liddell are all still inactive. Meanwhile, the big man, Jonas Valanciunas, he's also been downgraded to doubtful, so he's most likely not going to play. Meanwhile, for Golden State on the other side, Curry, Wiggins, and Rollins are still out for them, although Golden State's been winning games without those guys, so I really don't think that's going to matter. Now, total-wise, Golden State did see overs recently against the likes of the Wizards and Oklahoma City. Meanwhile, the Pelicans are 19-13 to the over in their road trips. Give me Golden State minus 4.5 over 232 and a hook. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be the Timberwolves at the Lakers, 10:30 p.m. East. Minnesota's the 1-point favorite. Total's 228.5. Now, the T-Wolves dropped 5 out of their last 8, and they've really struggled on the road. Out of 30 contests away from Minnesota, the T-Wolves got the W only a dozen times. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, they may be one of the worst rebounding teams in the West on both ends of the court. Now, they're facing a Laker team on the other side who's arguably one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the Western Conference. And when it comes to scoring, LA's in the top 10 in the NBA in points per game. Anthony Davis scores 25 points per contest, and he averages nearly 13 rebounds. Meanwhile, Lonnie Walker is scoring 13 points a game himself, and he does a nice job shooting from long range. Now, injury-wise, LeBron's still out for the Lakers. D'Angelo Russell's also inactive. Meanwhile, for the T-Wolves, Jalen Noel's day-to-day for them. When it comes to the total, Minnesota went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Lakers saw overs recently against the likes of OKC and Portland. Give me the Lakers +1 over 228.5. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Orlando Magic -3.5, under 227 and a hook. Boston Celtics -11, under 227. Portland Trailblazers +7, over 241.5. I'm 6-0 my last 6 board member tier package bets on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. The link is in my bio. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every one of my personal bets here today, the only way to do that is to sign up for my all-inclusive board member package on that site. Give me the New York Knicks -2.5, under 215 and a hook. Phoenix Suns -5, under 222. Utah Jazz -1.5, over 234. Sacramento Kings -6, over 240. Denver Nuggets -5, over 234. Golden State Warriors -4.5, over 232 and a hook. With my next and final free pick for the video, give me the Lakers +1 over 228.5.